This is FightFans Radio.
No!
What's up, everybody? It's another edition of Untethered MMA on FightFans Radio. It is December 20th, 2012. It's our holiday show. If you want to reach the show, you can call in at 410-988-6525, and you can reach all of the hosts on Twitter. You can reach me at It's Mike Fagan, Derek at FightLinkerSubo, and Bleacher Report extraordinaire Matt Roth at MattRoth512. And guys, I finally got through that intro without stumbling over my words for the first time in about a month. So, it's been a couple weeks, so we'll start with you, Derek. How's it been? What are you doing for the holidays? You got all your Christmas shopping done?
Christmas shopping? What's that?
Oh, I forgot you're fucking broke.
Yeah, there is that, yeah. So, my mom was actually rubbing that in a little bit earlier today, telling me that she was going to open up a present that she got from a friend of hers on Christmas Eve so that at least she had something to do.
So your mom's busting your balls about being a broke ass?
Every fucking day, bro. Every day. And then I had my root canal wrapped up a few days ago. A piece of my mouth is still numb, and that may be the case, forever. Because they don't fucking tell you. You just kind of have to wait a couple of weeks and see if the sensation comes back. But I enjoyed the many fights that we've seen between 2 weeks ago and now across multiple variety of disciplines as well.
And Matt, what about you? Are you going back to New Jersey for the holidays? You gonna stick around Austin?
Yeah, I'm staying in Austin, man. I'm gonna be a lonely Jew on Christmas.
Wait, a lowly Jew or a lonely Jew?
Both.
Okay, all right.
I'm actually I'm dog sitting my friend's boss's dog. He's paying me to watch his 14-year-old dog, which literally just eats, sleeps, and shits. That's it. So it's probably the easiest gig in the world.
Matt, now that I remember that you're a big fat Jew, I have a question for you.
Right.
Down the street from us, about 3 blocks away, there is a family that we call the Super Jews.
Right. That's not bad at all. Keep going.
Well, they have the beards. They're always dressed in Orthodox clothes. The whole thing, and
right.
Good for them. God bless them.
Wait. When did they become superheroes?
It had to be before they moved here. This is obviously their secret identity, home headquarters kind of thing before they fly off to Israel to kill the Palestinians. But anyway.
So they're currently superheroes.
Oh, dude. How could they not be? Either that or they're just weird, but I'm going to go with the superhero angle. But they have this gigantic menorah that they have in their front yard. And a few days ago, on Tuesday, a couple kids painted a swastika on it. Now, is it okay for me as a somewhat neighbor that I live a couple of blocks away to go over to them and say, hey, you're cool with us and I'll beat the fuck out of any skinheads that I see?
Yes, totally cool.
All right, cool.
100% cool.
Meanwhile,
I don't know if anybody follows myself or Derek on Twitter or if you're Facebook friends with us, but Derek, we've been talking. Vigilantism has been coming up quite a bit in our discussions, hasn't it?
I have not. There has not been anyone, not a family member of ours, not a good personal friend, not a boss or anything that has said, "Don't do it. It's a bad idea. What you say isn't true." I think that we've got it nailed as far as what would happen.
I honestly, so just to kind of clue everybody in, what Derek and I have been talking about is the Westboro Baptist Church. What they're deciding to do is saying it's a great idea. Let's go and picket the funerals of the 20 children that were killed in Sandy Hook, Connecticut last Friday. Correct?
Yes, to protest, not so much to protest, but to celebrate that God had done this and sent the shooter and killed all those kids to show us how we've strayed from God as a nation. The same thing they do with dead soldiers, funerals, and things like that.
Right. So what Derek and I have been talking about doing is road tripping up to Connecticut, and if they actually are there picketing, just go and beat the holy hell out of them. Like,
Yes, and Matt and I do have some differences here. We're going to get Mike's opinion here in a second, but I feel that the only possible liability is civil. I don't think that you can find a jury in the whole of the Northeast that would convict us of beating the hell out of some of these assholes. But then you get into the civil cause, which is pain and suffering and medical bills, which is why I think I'm just going to run around in either Darce or Anaconda everybody, because all they do is they fall asleep and wake up, and there's no medical bills or any of that shit.
see, now this is now where my opinion comes in. Pain and suffering, there's no way you're going to be able to sue anybody for pain and suffering when you are trying to picket the 20 funerals of dead children. There's no way that you could sue anybody for pain and suffering when you're trying to do that to those parents. There's no way in hell that any jury, like, no judge is going to go, oh yeah, pain and suffering, go fuck yourself. That's what a judge is going to say. And my viewpoint is that worst case scenario, I do lose a civil case. I can literally just knock on the doors of every single local business, or put up a PayPal or a Kickstarter campaign, and like everybody's just going to cover my bills. They'll cover my civil. And
Yeah. I mean, if we're in the process of raising funds for me to fly out and meet these guys here in a few weeks, I don't know where we are on that, by the way, but I know there's at least a few bucks in there. I'm pretty sure we could get a legal defense for beating the shit out of some Westboro parishioners pretty easily.
I'm saying like an entire Kickstarter campaign of just like donate money, and I will literally fly around the country wherever they go to, and I'll just be there, literally, like just right in front of them, just the whole time saying, "You walk one more step towards me, man, I'm gonna fucking lay you out."
Now, boys, I do want to interject here. First, I want to tell you that it appears that a group of bikers already swept
the
in.
Patriot Guard, yes, and they've been doing that for a long time to create a physical barrier, a wall between the protesters and whatever tragedy, whatever people are mourning on the other side, so they don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, so it looks like the Baptist Church, or the Westboro Baptist Church, didn't show up. But I would say that I feel like a lot of your criminal or civil liability would rest on how you ended up handling it. Like if you showed up and just started beating people up like old Hell's Angel style.
No, but see, that's the thing, Mike. Like, you still have to get a jury of 12 unanimously to convict. You could have all the evidence in the world. You could have me on tape doing it, but I bet I can get one jury member that says I like what he did and I don't want to see him go to jail for it.
Well, I don't know if you have to go to jail for it, but I don't think you'd escape any sort of legal ramifications.
Jury nullification, baby.
Someone snorting coke on the podcast again?
Nope, there is no cocaine.
We will move on. Derek, I think you got a little, well, not that we didn't know this was coming, but you got a little bit of an early Christmas present. Just before the show went live here, there was a press release apparently that the next Strike Force will be the final Strike Force on Showtime.
No.
I
don't believe you. No, man, we're talking about the same organization that signed Fedor from right under the UFC's nose and was on network television. You know, were this the same guys that had 3 title fights on CBS at one point, and they're dead? No fucking way.
Gentlemen.
This is not. Yeah, these things happen in mixed martial arts. We're on national television. I am not surprised at all by the Death Strike Force. I called it for years before the purchase, and I called for it right at the purchase. I've been calling for it since. I predicted it. I was right. It's a good thing. I got to take a little issue with your tweet earlier today, though, Mike, because I don't want Dana White under the mistletoe for Christmas this year, and I'll tell you why. He's a promoter, all right? Promoters have their own objectives in the fight game. Make as much money as possible, get as many eyes on it as possible. That's separate from the fighters who care about making as much money as possible and maybe being the best in their division, maybe not, who gives a shit as long as they're getting paid. All the fans want to see is the fight versus the best, and really for as little money as possible so that we can pay as little as possible both at the gate and at pay-per-view. Promoters are not the friends of the fans 100% of the time, and Dana White is no exception to that rule. But now there are fewer promoters than there have ever been before. There's no more Scott Coker. Bjorn Rebney is kind of out there, and, Cox and everybody. But really, when it comes to the MMA, Dana White is the one guy, and that means less money being spent on all promoters, less confrontation between promoters leading to fights not being made, like with Top Rank versus Golden Boy in boxing. And it's not perfect. I'm not happy that George St. Pierre is fighting Nick Diaz next because I think that's bullshit, and it's a pure promoter's move because that's simply saying I can get more money for this fight than I can for any other fight, thus this is the fight I'm making. I don't care about competitive balance or if the fans want it or not, although what the fans want and what makes the most money often coincide. But I'm happy it's dead, and fuck you guys that thought the UFC was going to falter in the last 5 years because you're dumb.
Now, Derek, you're telling me that if you open your front door and Dana White's sitting there naked with a sash around him, just sort of gently covering his balls.
Oh, I'll plant a fat one on him. Don't worry, don't fucking doubt me there.
Covered in baby oil, just dripping wet in it, just glistening in the sunlight, the Denver sunlight, that you wouldn't just take him in and... I do want to ask you...
What do you think mistletoe means, Mike? What do you think people do when they're under the mistletoe?
I do want to ask you, Derek, in reaction to the Pacquiao fight, Dana said this about Bob Arum. I'm the biggest Manny Pacquiao fan ever. I bet on Marquez, White revealed Saturday night. Dumbest fight in history. Bob Arum is a moron. You don't take that fight, you idiot. Why would you do that fight? It's all about the money. That's why. That was a money fight. That's what that fight was done for. Pacquiao should have fought Bradley. Bradley's the fight they should have done. He would have knocked Bradley out. He would have got his belt back, and now he's in the position he should have been in. Blah, 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 blah. Which seems to fly in the face of his prior comments about just the best fighting the best. No? Agree?
Well,
disagree?
I think he's right in that Pacquiao should have fought Bradley. You don't beat somebody and then lose to somebody, and then your next fight is the guy that you're 2-0-1 against versus the guy you're 0-1 against. That's a stupid way to go about things.
Well, and I don't disagree with that logic. It was the way that Dana put it, though. That
no, and I have questions about that too, because as a promoter, Dana has shown a little bit of a fealty to the sport. If Dana was just a pure promoter, if he was Scala or fucking T-shirt guy, then we'd be coming up on our 5th Brock Lesnar versus Kimbo Slice pay-per-view right now. But those kind of freak show matches, those kind of crazy just name versus name things, are normally backslided in favor of divisional relevance and who's actually won fights. But now, if Dana's really kind of spreading his wings and saying, fuck it, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do and let it be damned, then that is an avenue to criticize a rum from, because Bob did have the choice of having Pacquiao fight whoever he wanted, and it turns out fighting Marquez for a 4th time, when a win doesn't really get you anything, because you've already beaten him, but a loss just leads to the questions of whether or not you're too old, whether or not you should retire. It was a no-win, all-lose situation for Manny, and that's where my criticism of it comes from. I think Dana was just reaching a little bit in a way just so he could take a shit on Bob Arum because he doesn't like him. I think it was a little bit silly.
We alluded to earlier, there was a lot of MMA that happened between our last show and this one. Did either of you watch the Tough Australia card?
I did play-by-play.
You did play-by-play? I only watched the Lombard Palhares fight. Was there anything else on the show that was worth seeking out?
Nope.
Even the main event?
No, the main event was awesome because it was pretty ridiculous how many times George Sotaropoulos' chin is just gone. That guy can't take a punch. And
gone indicates that it was there in the first place. And the first time I saw him really get cleanly hit was against Seaver, and the same thing happened.
Yeah, I mean, he's just getting slept way too much. He's just getting put to sleep way too much. And honestly, he moves slowly. His one avenue to win relies on really shitty wrestling getting him to the ground.
Yes, and I don't have a lot of tweets that are winners that are retweeted and favorited by other people, but I did have one on that night and I said that the distance between George Soteropoulos' head and nipples is just staggering.
No, you're right.
True.
I mean, like you know what you know what kind of body he has? He has the same body type as like Ric Flair.
It's like a grandpa body. It's like when Jack LaLanne was like 95 and drinking juice and took his shirt off. That's what he looked like.
Right.
Yeah, I can see the Ric Flair
nipples
thing.
pointed at the ground.
And Matt, how pumped were you to see Ric Flair on Monday night?
I was pretty stoked.
I turned the segment on because I saw Twitter blowing up about it, and the segment wasn't that great, but it's always nice to see Rick back on Raw.
Slick Rick. Woo!
So the only other interesting fight on that card, Lombard pretty much destroying Paul Harris.
This just in, Hector Lombard can beat one-dimensional fighters.
Yeah, that's kind of what I took from it too. I've been pretty bearish on Hector Lombard ever since he came into the UFC. Obviously, it's a great rebound fight for him. He did look good. I mean, there's no doubting that. But Paul Harris is a guy that, unless he can really get you where he wants, you should have a pretty easy time.
Well, the thing is, and this is kind of weird for me. Tell me if you think I'm crazy. I've been down on Lombard too. I never thought that he was top 5 in the world or anything like that. But I think that Bisping is a really good matchup for him.
It's a terrible matchup for him.
I don't think it is because fucking Bisping, I don't think can take Lombard down. And I think that Hector is happy to eat one to give one, and we know how Mikey doesn't like it to hit with power.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with Bisping is that he, if he runs up against a guy with great power and he,
He'll normally just take him down, but he can't do that to Hector.
Well, I don't know. I probably not, but I mean, it would be interesting to see though, because I mean, Bisping is a guy who you kind of forget how big he is at middleweight. He was never a big light heavyweight, but he's actually a pretty decent sized middleweight. And Lombard's a thick dude, but he's not a tall dude either.
No, but that does help with the takedown defense because Bisping's like 6'2" and long and rangy, and
he doesn't need to fight on the ground. Hector Lombard throws one punch at a time. He has no idea how to throw straight punches. He has no idea how to throw a jab. He has no idea how to throw combinations. Hector Lombard is a very, very one-dimensional fighter on the feet. And
Bisping gets
and Michael Bisping, as much as people hate Michael Bisping and love to just tear him apart, guess what? That dude has some awesome, awesome footwork. And most of the time, he's only been slept once by Dan Henderson. So
but he's been knocked down.
So you can't say questionable chin. And when's the last time that Hector Lombard has actually been able to, deal with somebody who throws straight punches?
I can totally say that Bisping has a questionable chin because he got dropped by Vanderlei Silva in the 3rd round, and he got dropped by Jorge Rivera 10 seconds into the 2nd round. So that's not an incredibly powerful chin.
Now, Matt, didn't you write a Hector Lombard article for Bleacher Report?
And I
basically kind of just eviscerating him.
Yeah. But I think I'm completely right. I think honestly, you know who, like in the top 10 of the UFC's top 10 division, and I'll even pull up my article. But I mean, Anderson Silva, Hector Lombard gets murdered by Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Like, there's no question about that.
Most people on the planet do, but go ahead.
Okay, if he fights Chael Sonnen, Chael's the best wrestler in the UFC. He'll take him down. He'll be able to hold him down for 3 rounds. Okay? And Chael has a really solid chin. Chris Weidman has been improving, and his wrestling is really only behind Chael Sonnen. And I think that he's improving every single time. And his hands, again, he throws straight punches. And in my opinion, every single time a person who throws straight punches fights somebody who throws looping punches, they lose. The person who throws straight punches wins. Tim Boetsch, we've already seen how that played out. Yushin Okami is a monster in the clinch. Michael Bisping has crazy footwork and he'll avoid everything. Vitor Belfort will just piston hands at him and murder him. Mark Munoz, he'll probably get slept by Hector Lombard, so he'll get a win against Mark Munoz. Alan Belcher murders him. Legit murders him. Everywhere the fight takes place. If it stays on the feet, Alan Belcher will just kill the shit out of his legs. And if it goes to the Alan Belcher will probably tap Hector Lombard. And then Brian Stann. Hector Lombard will probably win, but it'll be on the ground. But If Stan connects on the feet, that's it. And then I brought up one other person outside the top 10 who I believe actually would beat Hector Lombard, and that's Konstantinos Philippou. Costas Philippou is a terrible matchup for Hector Lombard.
So who do you think Lombard gets next then?
He'll probably get the loser of Bisping Belfort.
You think so?
That makes sense because
It
the first
doesn't
fight
make
was
sense.
the
It
first
doesn't
fight
make
was
sense.
to see if he was top 5. The second fight says, okay, you're not out of the top 15. So now here's a 7 or 8 guy.
It doesn't make sense. The way what would make
And
sense,
the way they're paying him, it's just like what happened with Akiyama. It became clear that Yoshihiro Akiyama couldn't hack it at the top level, but he kept fighting him anyway because his contract dictated that he had to, and that's what's going to happen with Hector.
yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. Is that it's the same thing that happened to Akiyama, and I mean the truth about Hector Lombard is that he is best suited at welterweight, but he'll never get there.
And why do you think that is, Matt?
Why? Have you seen the guy's build? That man loves horse meat.
He does.
Horse meat.
Let's move on to the tough card on Saturday. A pretty okay card, I thought.
That was a fun card.
It was fun.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a nice free show on FX. I think the highlight was Rustam Habilov's suplexes in the prelims. Although Pat Barry, I mean, if we're talking about straight murdering guys, Pat Barry straight murdered Shane Del Rosario as well.
Did anyone catch the manufactured bullshit controversy around our suplexing friend from the undercards?
Oh, the video of him throwing a drink in some girl's face.
You mean the video of him assaulting a woman in public, Matthew?
I did not see this.
God, I fucking hate everyone in the mixed martial arts media. I'm sorry.
When did this happen? And what's the story behind it?
It happened
Literally
in
a video
Russia.
of him flipping off a girl at a McDonald's and then tossing a glass of ice at her, like a cup of ice. Not fucking hard, just like, here, you're wet now, and then walking out of the restaurant.
Right. No, but like everyone is spinning this as he assaulted her, and it's like that's not that's like the loosest definition of assault.
I mean, it is assault, but it's not.
I don't think it's assault in Russia.
When you hear assaulting a woman, that's not what you think of. You don't think of throwing ice at her.
Yeah, like-
because like he's assaulted a woman now, and a guy who beats the shit out of a woman with a baseball bat has assaulted a woman, and we put them on the same fucking plane. Because, hey, it's a headline on Bloody Elbow to say, hey, here's a video of an upcoming MMA fighter assaulting a woman.
Tell us what you really think.
It makes me so... It never ceases to surprise me or amaze me or disgust me. And it should.
I'm pulling up the article now. Oh, look who the author is. I'm shocked.
Wow!
Absolutely shocked who authored this post. I have a question for you guys. Since we didn't have a chance to talk about the card before, any reason why Roy Nelson was only a minus 250 favorite against Matt Mitrione? Matt Mitrione, who I believe was in his 7th or 8th professional MMA fight, Roy Nelson being the toughest guy he fought, on short notice, also hadn't fought in a while. Any reason?
I don't really have a theory other than that Roy is disrespected by the bettors, and that there are a lot of people that bet MMA that don't know a lot about it, and when they see a guy that's fat, they just think, oh, well, fuck that, I'm going to bet on the other guy, even if it's short notice. Mitrione has, the one loss on his record, like, ever, and other than that, the draw to Congo, and he's won every other fight he's been in, so it's not like a lot of people have exposed Mitrione. That fight should have been a draw because Congo was fucking grabbing his shorts the whole time. But yeah, he did lose the fight to Congo. And you're correct there. But I mean, a lot of people love Mitrione. They hear former NFL player, they hear light on the feet, powerful left hand, southpaw, bouncy, and people want to fall in love. Roy doesn't give people a lot of reasons to think he's anything other than a tough bastard with the fights against Werdum and Mir. But against guys that aren't in that top 5, Roy cleans the house with him.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. When I talk, I've talked about for a while that once you hit 30, you're not really a prospect anymore. And Matt Mitrione started his career. I mean, his first fight was in the UFC in 2009, and he was 31. And without coming in, without having a background like in wrestling or in judo or something like that, it's very difficult to in 7 fights get to a point where you can beat a guy like Roy Nelson consistently.
Right.
Especially coming in on short notice and having been he had last fought in October of 2011, so he'd been out for over a year. I was just very confused. I made a lot of money on Roy Nelson. I was very confused what was going on.
How much money do you make?
A lot of money is not a lot of money, but relative to my bankroll was a lot of money.
Gotcha. Now, since I didn't really speak on the subject, I was actually impressed by Matt Mitrione, to be honest.
He didn't look bad at all. Those kicks that he were landing were great.
Like he moved around well. He landed those kicks, and I mean, even when Roy Nelson got the body lock, which is like that's his bread and butter. If Roy Nelson gets a hold of you, you end up on your back. And
the moon on you.
And then he puts the moon on you. But like, dude, honestly, he looked good. He moved around well and he stopped the takedown. It's just a matter of
Gotta worry about his chin a little bit though, and I know that Roy hits hard, but I've never seen Mitrione take a clean punch on the jaw from a heavyweight, and the first time I did, he went down.
Right.
I've seen fucking, Fabricio Werdum almost break his kneecap on Roy Nelson's head, and he was okay. I've seen him take Junior Dos Santos' best shots and keep coming. I don't know about Mitrione in there.
Yeah, Roy Nelson definitely has that Homer Simpson gene in him.
It's not a gene, goddammit. Get the reference right if you're going to reference the Dredrick Tatum episode. It's Homer Simpson syndrome. It's
syndrome,
an eighth of an inch of fluid around your head like you're wearing a football helmet all the time.
I want to go back a couple of weeks. The UFC on Fox 5 show. I thought the prelims were sort of whatever, but the main card definitely lived up to the hype that it was the best one of the best main cards on paper in 2012.
Had the most talent. It definitely had the most talent.
Now I want to start off before we get into the fights. There's a lot of talk about what the UFC may have sacrificed to put this show on a free network show. I'm looking at the card.
Not dick for paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
First, just look at the main event of Henderson Diaz. Lightweight traditionally has not drawn terribly well outside of BJ Penn. And neither Ben Henderson or Nate Diaz has really proven to be a draw. I believe the rematch, the Henderson rematch with Edgar, did right around 200,000, maybe a little more, a little less. So in terms of a main event draw, you're not really losing much. And then the two biggest draws on the card were Shogun and Penn, and both those guys are as the storyline going into the card, where they were veterans kind of on the end of their careers facing these young lions. So what really, if anything, did they sacrifice to put this show on Fox?
Well, what they did sacrifice is that, like having Shogun Gustafsson, and it kind of goes back.
Solid co-main event.
It's a solid co-main event, but the problem is that I still don't know what they're planning on doing with these Fox cards, and what they're planning on doing with Fuel, and what they're planning on doing with FX. And it's one of those things where like we complain about these cards being like really, really shallow. I mean, and when I say these cards, I mean all the cards this year, not that the Seattle card was awesome. But we complain about cards being shallow, but like they have to be, because like a fight like Weidman versus Munoz, that would normally be like a number 3 fight on a main card. Or like a co-main event, something like that. But they're fighting on Fuel TV. Alex Gustafsson versus Thiago Silva that's not a main event, but it was. The problem is that you're finding out that on network TV, and they still don't know what it is. They have no idea what's going to work. The only thing that they know that doesn't work is fights that go to decision. They know that will not work, and I mean that in the Fox 2.
Well, 3 fights went to the decision on the main card here, and the ratings numbers were pretty solid.
Yeah, no, but I mean like shitty decision, like Fox 2.
Well, and one of the things that seems to get looked over a lot when we talk about the numbers for these shows, wait, Fox 2, you're talking about not the Rashad Evans, Phil Davis.
Yeah,
right?
that one sucked.
You're talking about the Diaz Miller one?
Yeah, the Diaz Miller one. Sorry.
Okay. That card and the Shogun Vera card. I mean, both those cards were in late spring or in the summer, and didn't have the backing of an entire month's worth of NFL push promos during the NFL games. I don't know how much did this card do well because of the fights on it, and how much of it just had to do simply with having a month of NFL promos.
I would like to see how many people actually kept called up their friends and said, don't miss this card, turn on Fox. They talked about it with Forrest Bonner at the first Tough finale, how everybody was like, dude, you have to turn on Spike. This is an amazing fight between these two guys. And that's why it helped the UFC become what it is. I'd like to know how the numbers actually increased, because that Ben Henderson Diaz fight was awesome. The what's called the Gustafsson Shogun fight was awesome. The McDonald Penn fight, awesome fight. And Matt Brown, in my mind, that dude is a fucking star.
I don't know about star.
He could be a star.
He's a good guy to have, and this is what he's always been. He's a good guy to have open a show or headline like a prelim show, because he's going to come. He's the kind of guy who knows what he's not a title contender. He knows that, and he's going to go out and he's kind of like Chris Lytle in that same vein, that he knows he's not going to make a title fight anymore, but he'll go in and bang and it'll be good.
Yeah,
Derek, any thoughts?
Several. I enjoyed the card. I thought that the McDonald shit talking was completely ridiculous, coming from fans of a guy that once ran up to his opponent and wiped the blood off his face so he could lick it off his gloves for the camera. I am excited. I agree with you that the football promos helped. The commercials definitely help a lot. Those are still going to be in vogue for the next Fox show, right? When is that? April?
No, the next Fox show is January in Chicago.
That's what I thought. So there is one. There is one between then and now. So the playoffs and everything will still get commercials for that as well.
Right.
And that's awesome, Matt. I wanted to run this by you real quick because I'm browsing Bleacher Report. It's such an excellent website, and the WWE section. What are you laughing at, Mike? I didn't make a joke. And they have in this WWE section. The guy named Jack Woodfield has written an opinion piece. 5 MMA stars Vince McMahon would love to have in the WWE. And there's technically 6 people here, but let's see how many you can get, Roth. Go.
5 MMA stars that Vince McMahon would like in the WWE.
Yeah, then he'd sign them if they were free.
Okay, well, the first would be Ronda Rousey.
Not on the list.
Not on the list.
Who's she going to wrestle? Alundra Blaze?
I think there's a very obvious one that I thought you would have gone for right away.
Oh, Alistair Overeem?
What?
Not on the list. And Rampage isn't either, which is stupid.
I have no idea.
I'm assuming number 1 is Chael P. Sonnen.
Chael Sonnen is number 1 on the list. Number 5 is John Jones.
Right. John Jones would not work in the WWE.
No, he wouldn't.
Wait, hold on. Are all these fighters active?
Yes.
Okay.
The Diaz brothers, collectively.
I would love to see them try to cut a wrestling promo. The worst thing ever.
Dude, that'd be great. They do like the in-ring, like a shoot, and then they just start punching the guy and be like, dude, we're just talking. It's a joke. It's scripted.
Okay, continue.
Benson Henderson.
Wait, no. What?
I don't understand. Maybe they're going to Korea next year. I don't fucking know. Junior Dos Santos. And yeah, that's the list.
Huh. Wait, can you repeat it one more time? Because this is fucking awful.
Chael.
Right.
Junior Dos Santos.
No.
Benson Henderson,
No.
the Diaz brothers,
No.
and John Jones.
No.
Well, there
Wow.
are no comments yet, so you can get over here and comment on it if you
I'm just going to tell Bix that this fucking writer's retarded.
like.
Like, look, if
Wait a minute. Bleacher Report pirated David Bixen's fan too?
Yeah, that was like the first person to go.
And they just raided the cabinet at SBN, didn't they?
Yeah, that was like 2 years ago, brother. Like while I was running Head Kick Legend.
Who does cage side seats now?
Gino. Me and Gino have that fucking have that radio show on FightFansRadio.com.
Indeed, and that's why I will refrain from saying fuck Gino here. But yeah, listen to the show, guys.
No, it's look,
Mike, if you let Gino win our fantasy football league, I'll never speak to you again.
Well, I'm trying to win 2 years running.
I got bullshitted this year, man. That was bullshit.
I got bullshitted last week, and Mike and I both left stars on the bench, but optimal lineups I would have won, and Eli just stuck it in my ass.
Dude,
Yeah.
How about the fact that Aaron Rodgers, for the first half of the season, is like, whatever, I'm not Aaron Rodgers.
Yo, Eli Manning and Victor Cruz.
And then there's some fucking, and then there's like one game where he plays well, and then he goes back to, and then the Packers just like, they forget that they have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. They're just like, oh, wait, Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback? No, we're going to run the ball.
That's true.
Fuck you.
Mike McCarthy running the ball too much. But let's get back on to MMA. We've only got 20 minutes left here. Couple things coming out of UFC on Fox 5 that I want to ask you guys about. First, BJ Penn. Should he retire? Do you want to see him fight again?
Should retire.
If you do want to see him fight again, who do you want to see him fight?
BJ Penn should retire.
Derek?
I want to see that rematch with Machida. I think he's got it this time. He's in shape. He's focused.
How bad would Lyoto Machida fuck BJ Penn up right now?
So badly. It wouldn't be
one
funny.
punch. Be the first punch landed.
I wouldn't mind BJ coming back. And I wouldn't even mind him coming back at welterweight. But, I mean, he clearly cannot beat the elite guys at 170 pounds.
What is BJ Penn's career record at 170 against people not named Matt Hughes? Like 1-4-1?
I think it's 0-3 or something.
Yeah, he beat Dwayne Ludwig at 170.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that was right after he left the UFC. That was his first fight after leaving with the belt.
Okay. I thought you meant just in the UFC.
I mean career. Like at welterweight, he's below 500, and if you take out Matt Hughes, it's one guy.
Then what did he fight Henzo at?
185?
That was 185.
Huh?
That was at 185, I believe.
That's
middleweight.
That's such a ridiculous weight for them. They both probably weighed at like what 175 or something.
They're both fat. They both hung out in Hawaii and fucking ate poi for a few months, and then they had themselves a fight.
I mean, like if you think about it, and it wasn't actually like his beef with the UFC started when he fought Takanori Gomi in his brother's promotion before fighting Matt Hughes.
And thank God that fight happened.
Yes, to solidify who the best lightweight of all time is, because otherwise, with different promotions, we'd never fucking know. Thank God that won't be a problem in the future. We're not going to debate 10 years from now whether Gilbert Melendez could have hacked it in the UFC, because now we're going to find out, and it's great.
The other question, and speaking of Gilbert Melendez's weight class, who does Ben Henderson fight next? And is Gilbert Melendez the guy?
Gilbert Melendez has to be that or it's be the winner of Pettis Cerrone.
That's the correct answer to the question.
Yeah, but that's your dog.
Yeah, but
that is your dog.
Even if he loses, then Pettis has recovered from the Guida loss enough to earn his title shot. There's nobody I need Pettis to fight after Cerrone to prove to me he's ready.
Well, and I was talking to someone about this yesterday. Why not Gray Maynard? I mean, obviously the UFC doesn't want to risk Gray winning the title, but why isn't Gray Maynard in the discussion right now?
Well, Gray Maynard would be a great first fight for Gilbert Melendez. The winner of that would have an excellent case for a title shot. And
I'm talking about Maynard and Henderson.
I'm fine with that too, frankly. But has Maynard won one fight since the Frankie fight?
But you bring that up. You bring that up.
Yes, in a split decision, but you can't go from beating Clay Guida to a title shot. It's not
Wait. Whoa. Okay. So Anthony Pettis, he won the belt at the WC lightweight belt at WC 53 2 years ago, and he was supposed to fight. He was supposed to fight for the UFC belt. Edgar and Maynard were both injured, so he took the fight with Guida. He lost. Since he's only fought twice since. Jeremy Stevens and Joe Lozon. For real. You think that Anthony Pettis deserves a shot?
If he beats Cerrone, yes, because Matt, who did he beat in the WEC for that title?
Yeah, Ben Henderson in
That's
a
the guy.
unanimous
Yeah.
decision.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't matter.
In a fight of the year, in a 5-round war.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. Against a fighter who's and bounds. Anthony Pettis doesn't deserve shit right now. For
I don't
real.
know. If he beat Donald Cerrone, I think
No, then
he's got just as much of a...
Put him against
anyway.
fucking Jim Miller. That guy doesn't deserve anything. Anthony Pettis, he shouldn't even be fighting Cerrone. God damn, you guys are fucking retarded.
I'll throw this out there. SBN, their in-house rankings, they have Gray Maynard number 2 behind Ben, and then they have Melendez, Diaz number 4, and then Pettis and Cerrone 5 and 6.
That's ridiculous.
Pettis 5, Cerrone 6.
Who should be between Cerrone and Pettis? Let's do that. You obviously say Jim Miller. Who else?
Between
I think he's trying to say that Cerrone should probably be ahead of Pettis.
I have no problem with Cerrone's ranking. I don't think that Pettis is a top 10 guy.
Then that's the question. We have 5 guys or 6 guys, including Miller, that are better than Pettis right now. Who else?
All right, before you answer that, let me just read off the rest of the list. Jim Miller at 7, Michael Chandler, Eddie Alvarez, Joe Lozon, Josh Thompson, Rafael Dos Anjos, and Shinya Aoki. Tim Burke voted for Shinya Aoki.
That's so crazy. Oh my god.
I'll see if I can find the meta rankings because sometimes those have a longer list. Someone talk while I find this.
And look, here's the deal. Rankings themselves never make sense anyway. Just because the guy it's all subjective, and no one actually looks at historical data anyway when they do it. It's all basically what happened most recently.
All right, let me read you the meta rankings. This is before Henderson Diaz went down. 1 Henderson, 2 Melendez, 3 Maynard, 4 Diaz, 5 Edgar, 6 Michael Chandler, 7 Cerrone, 8 Guida, 9 Pettis, 10 Alvarez, and then here's the 11. Well, we'll go 11 through 16. There's a tie at 16. Jim Miller, T.J. Grant, Pat Healy, Rick Hahn, Shinya Aoki, Joe Lozon, Rafael Dos Anjos.
Let me be the first to say fucking LOL at Gilbert Melendez above Gray Maynard in the rankings right now. Based on what?
Winning?
Winning against Josh Thompson and Tatsuya Kawajiri.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's the worst thing ever.
It's the last gasp of the symptom of the disease that we've been seeing for a while, which is overrating people that haven't had to fight UFC style competition yet.
Well, I mean, we'll find out hopefully shortly.
Goddamn right, we will. The Strikeforce is dead. They're dead.
There's anything else from the Fox show? Rory McDonald. Who do you guys want to see him fight next? And same thing for Alexander Gustafsson.
Ooh, well, I'll tell you what. They announced Hendricks versus Ellenberger, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess Rory and Condit are fighting next. So maybe
yes, and that's awesome. I have no objections to that fight. But if they put Rory versus Johnny Hendricks for a title shot, I'd be okay with that too.
Well, the problem is, the big problem with that is that Rory has already said he doesn't want to fight GSP. So.
Sure, and that probably leads – that's why he wants to avenge his loss as opposed to moving up in the division or anything like that. Nick Diaz got a title shot for beating BJ Penn. Rory, wasn't going to be in that category because BJ's diminished now.
No. Nick Diaz got a title shot for losing to Carlos Condit.
No, he got this first one for beating BJ Penn, and then he fucked that one up. Then he lost to Carlos Condit, tested positive for marijuana, got suspended for a year, and was rewarded with a title shot.
which is insane, by the way.
It's complete bullshit. And, my fealty to Dana White being what it is, whatever. He fucked up here, and it was a bad decision.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left here. I'm going to throw 3 names at you, or 3 possibilities at you for Alexander Gustafsson. You tell me which one you want to see most. The winner of Dan Henderson and Lyoto Machida, rematch with Phil Davis, or Rashad Evans.
It would be he's not going to rematch with Phil Davis because I think at this point.
Well, I'm not saying will or won't he. I'm saying what would you want to see if you were Joe Silva.
It would be. I'd want to see Gustafsson versus the winner of Hendo Machida.
I would actually prefer to see Gustafsson versus the loser of that fight. I want the winner of that fight to fight John Jones.
That's a fair point.
So if whoever loses, if it's Henderson or if Henderson ekes it out over Machida, either one of those are interesting matchups to me. I just think that Gustafsson, I don't think that he's ready and hungry for a title shot yet, but beating either one of those two guys in his next fight would put him in position.
You guys made reference to it just a second ago. UFC 158. Obviously, we've discussed the Diaz St. Pierre bullshit. But at the same time, assuming those fights go down and they fill the rest of the card out reasonably well, that's a pretty awesome card.
We've got a number of awesome cards coming up. A couple of years ago when there were all those injuries going on around UFC 108, I knew that when you don't harvest a field for a while, if it lays fallow, then when it comes back, it's fat because you didn't get any of the harvest from the previous time. So when it comes in, it's going to be even better. And we're going to see that in the first quarter of this next year, hopefully stretching into the summer, of the fighters and the fights that we didn't get to see last year coming back and being made, except for Dominic Cruz. And that really is, nobody's talking about it because of what a sad fucking story it is that this champion may never come back and be the guy that he was before.
Yeah, it's unlike, and it's not even so much the knee injuries themselves. I mean, obviously that's going to be a huge issue.
Time out
going
too.
Forward. It's
his
mostly,
prime.
He's missing. Just the fact that he's missing 2 years of his prime, even if he comes back at the same level, which is unlikely. He's missing. We as fans are missing 2 years of his prime.
It's a much shorter window. He's probably lost $300,000-$400,000 of income. It just sucks. It's a sad story.
Yeah.
For Dominic Cruz?
Yeah.
I think the saddest part is that knee injuries suck, by the way. I don't know if having your knee completely fucked with sucks.
I bruised it in jiu-jitsu practice and it hurt for like a month and I fucking hated every day of my life.
Every single day.
That was a bruise.
Right. And here's the deal. You're Derek Sabatiki, okay? This guy's entire game plan, her skill set, revolves around his footwork. And
no,
his
we're
movement.
pretty similar. We're both pretty bouncy. We both like to get in
right.
and out.
You bounce around the jiu-jitsu mats?
They
Like,
told me to stop doing that, but yeah.
So, but you understand what I'm saying. Dude, how's this guy actually going to be Dominic Cruz when he comes back? When his knee, this is the second surgery. The first cadaver ligament didn't take.
Well, does it? I mean, that's I understand that you're probably making a joke there that we got to find another person's ligament. But is that actually what happened? Did he tear the new one? Did it not connect
It didn't take.
bone correctly?
It didn't take. That's what happened.
What does your body reject those things, or?
Yeah, your body can reject a cadaver ligament.
Well, I figured they went through, blood testing and some kind of sequencing to make sure that works before they open you up and stick it in there. You don't hear about that very often, but
no, it happens literally all the time.
Literally all the time. In
literally.
a book, all the time.
Literally, and literally.
So 157, Dan Henderson and Lyoto Machida looks like they're going to be in the co-main event right under Ronda Rousey and Liz Carmouche. Hendo's camp kind of came out with a public complaint about it. Dana kind of shot it down. Do either
Shut up, Jen. Shut up, Dan.
Do either of you have an issue with that? Do either of you see Dan Henderson's side of the story, or?
Yeah, I completely understand his perspective. But here's the deal, Dan Henderson. You've never drawn money.
Ever. In
Ever.
any way, shape, or form.
Now, I'll say this. I have a problem with it in the sense that, excuse me, if Henderson and Machida isn't 5 rounds, I have a very big problem with that.
Yeah, I agree with
that.
that.
You can bitch about. But remember, Mike, you were on your train like 2 years ago to get him to make every main event 5-round fights, and there were people saying, well, that's not going to be enough. Now you're going to want every good fight to be 5-round fights, and this is a symptom of that.
I still would, in terms of a blanket sort of policy, I would still want every main card fight to be 5 rounds. But
every main card fight, okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think every single fight on the card should be 5 rounds. I wouldn't mind.
You don't want it to be totally subjective where they just say, hey, we want to make this 5 rounds, so here you go. You want it to be a rule that if you're on the pay-per-view, it's 5 rounds.
I wouldn't mind if it was completely subjective as long as it was more liberal than it is right now.
But yeah, it's just that, it's going to be you're going to be cool with it until they don't do it to a fight you want to, and then it's going to be bullshit.
Well, it would still, I mean, as long as it was more than just the main event, it's still...
Even if they just did like a main and the co-main, even if they just did something like that, that would at least help. And I think it would
be an improvement for sure. But, again, on this card, Uriah Faber and Ivan Menjivar, I think that's a 5-round fight.
Really?
Yeah, why not? I mean, when you got guys that have held titles, those should be 5-round fights, period. And Menjivar's been around for forever.
Oh, I know, and I love Menjivar, but
it's
not like a number 1 contenders fight.
Whoa. You said anybody who's held a title that should be a 5-round... So you want to see a Dave Monet fight?
I was searching the memory banks, Matt. Thanks for picking me up on that, because I kind of blinked at that a couple of times. But Dave Monet is the go-to.
Yeah, come on, man.
Somebody find out what Murillo Bustamante is up to, and see if he wants to get on a pay-per-view 5-round fight.
Yeah.
I just obviously 5-round non-title main events is a great step, but I still want that more liberal. I want more 5-round fights, and this is sort of the vanguard of that. Well,
would you be okay with 7-round title fights, or am I still completely alone?
That's one of those things that I wouldn't mind it. It's not something that I really am gonna, call for the torches about. I just think 5 rounds, and I think you've seen it since they've enacted the policy that 5 rounds just it basically allows the fighters to, and I don't want to get too pro wrestling-esque here, but it allows the fighters to tell a better story. A 3-round fight, it's abbreviated and it gets cut off. Like Shogun Henderson, for instance, probably the fight of 2011. That fight after 3 rounds is much different than that fight after 5 rounds.
Yeah, after 3 rounds, it's just a Henderson domination. And
yeah.
You get no Shogun comeback. He's kind of a shot commodity after that instead of both of them coming out and looking good. Like, I agree with that. I just think that I like having title fights be unique. I think that one of the things that was predicted from the 5-round fights is true, is that now the guys that come into title fights have more experience. And I believe that before we started this whole experiment, the only fight that had ever ended in the 4th or 5th rounds was Rico Rodriguez versus Randy Couture. There was Couture against either Rodriguez or Hizzo, one or the other. And it ended in the 5th, but since then we've seen more fights that have ended in those championship rounds. And with anything, that hopefully opens up some guys' eyes to say, once you get into the 4th and 5th, you're not just angling for a decision and playing for the judges. You still have an opportunity to end the damn thing.
Well, and the problem also with looking at it like that, in terms of when fights end in the 4th and 5th round, I mean, you're putting, when you have a 5-round fight, even now with the 5-round non-title main events, you're putting pretty much 2 elite fighters together, and if they go past 3 rounds, it's a good chance that they're just evenly matched enough that they're going to go the full 5. So I've never really understood the argument that these fights aren't ending in the 4th or 5th. We shouldn't have more 5-round fights.
And that was one of the arguments against it before they implemented the policy, but I think that's changed now. When you have a title fight at the top of the card, they're going to be more reluctant to make the co-main event 5 rounds as well. Maybe because it diminishes from the specialty of the title fight a little bit. That's why I wanted it 7, so that it's still its own unique category. I worry about Rousey versus Carmouche headlining a pay-per-view, because I think that if it does 300,000, then Dana's going to look at that and kind of go, this isn't that good of a thing.
No,
I think if they do 300,000,
if it does 300,000, you're going to see women. You're going to see Ronda Rousey headlining huge pay-per-views.
yeah.
I don't know, man. You know that
if she does 300,000 with Liz Carmouche,
yeah. What's going to be the thing?
What does
that's
the
gonna,
UFC brand draw by itself? 200,000.
well, just remember that the Faber Aldo pay per view did 180,000. Obviously, that was without the UFC branding, but if Rousey can do 300,000, I mean that's not a great number in a vacuum by itself, but for a division that's just starting, I think that's a great number for opposite Liz Carmouche.
the question is going to be what happens when Ronda Rousey eventually loses.
I don't know.
It depends on who she loses to.
Okay. Let's say Liz Carmouche beats her.
That would suck. But I think that Dana, I don't think that Dana would immediately abandon it. He'd probably get behind Liz and say she's the first gay champ in UFC history. And let me fucking say this for the MMA media too. Dana White signs an openly gay fighter, says that he's happy about it, glad she did it, knew it was going to happen eventually, thinks that more people should do it. No other major sport does that. The day that the Miami Dolphins or the San Diego Padres sign a gay player, every fucking media outlet in this country is going to drop to their knees and suck that team's dick, but not a fucking peep of support for Dana White or the UFC for doing it. Nice double standard.
It's not even a double standard, man. Like, I don't think Dana White knew. He had no idea what he was like. I agree. If she loses to Liz Carmouche, that's the second best person that they can do it, like that the UFC can promote. Just because Liz Carmouche is ex-military. Really, really sweet girl. Every single time I've spoken to her, and openly gay, like you can actually promote her and actually try and say, hey, look, I know our fighters in the past have used the word faggot and cunt and pussy and everything.
And then there was that time that I did that,
and there was that time I did that too. But guess what? We have Liz Carmouche, and she's our female champion. She's the one who's representing all females in the sport. And we're behind her 100% because, and she's openly gay. That would be the only other person. But let's say if Ronda Rousey gets slept by like fucking Chris Cyborg, come on.
We're gonna end the show here. Erica, if you could start playing the music, I'm gonna leave you guys. I want you guys to respond to this. I want you guys to respond to Josh Koscheck versus Robbie Lawler.
Love it.
I don't know what happened to ruthless Robbie Lawler being replaced with merciful Robbie Lawler in the Lorenz Larkin fight. Obviously the UFC they love Josh Koscheck. They just want to high five him and pat him on the back every chance they get. This is a slam dunk for Koscheck. If he has anything.
He's gonna be toothless Robbie Lawler soon.
Ooh, I like the rhyme.
All right, everyone, have a happy holiday. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.